in the kitchen again, and this time we are making my husband's famous apple bacon turkey burgers. These things are so good. Our children love them, we love them, and this is kind of his little creation that he has made, and we have it on repeat almost weekly. It is so good. So he's going to take us along and show us all the stuff he puts in here to make these so tasty, and we are just going to watch.
So before I take too much credit for my husband's, what did you call it? Apple bacon turkey burgers.
Yeah.
The reason it's mine is because she texted me a recipe and we didn't have all the ingredients, so I had to figure it out. And this morning I actually made a batch and figured out that I needed to change some of the ingredients around because it was a little bit too much what I made earlier. So hopefully this will come out well for you, and should you try it. What we have here is 1.5 pounds of ground turkey. Is it like? Does it matter how lean it is?
No, it doesn't matter. You can use any ground meat really. You can make this with ground beef. You can make it with ground chicken. You can do ground pork. It's really up to you. We just typically end up getting ground turkey.
I think it's actually good with the ground turkey because of the apple. I don't know if the apple would go so well with ground beef. I really like beef burgers. I would actually go as far as to say I prefer beef burgers, but the ground turkey works really good with the apple. So what we have is 1.5 pounds of the ground turkey, and then I have 3/4 cup of applesauce. This is the store-bought applesauce, unsweetened, so there's no sugar, no cinnamon or anything in it. The first time we made this, applesauce was one of the ingredients we didn't have. But I found this thing, I think it lives down here somewhere in the whirligig, that you chop up apples with.
Oh,
so
yes.
So I was able to make applesauce, sort of, and it worked out really well.
And it was delicious.
Yeah, this morning when I made this, I used 1.5 pounds of the ground turkey, and I only used about 1/2 cup of applesauce, and it didn't give it the sweetness that it had last time. So I think about 3/4 cup will work out best. Next thing we have here, I chopped up some onion. This is really strong onion. This is going to be 1/2 cup of onion that we're going to be using. I'm just going to use that spatula.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. That's right. Honestly, we might be
Just
best. I did take my ring and my watch off for this because you got to dive into this a little bit. All right, so that was 1/2 cup of onion. The next thing we have is some poultry seasoning. The original recipe that she sent called for ground fennel. And I went to the grocery store today. Bela, if you watch this, thanks for your help, buddy. And I was looking for ground fennel. I could only find the regular fennel, so I brought it home and I actually pulverized and ground it myself, thinking that it was really vital to make this taste good, and we didn't like it. You're free to use it, but I wasn't a big fan. So we're going to do about a tablespoon of poultry seasoning, like that. These are mine now. Brand new, big deal, right? You got to measure your food if you want to keep track of your recipes. At least I think you do. We saw how the granola bars went, how Erica does her measuring. I like to actually measure this stuff, but
I just wing it.
So this right here is a teaspoon of paprika. So earlier today I used smoked paprika, which is what the original recipe called for, and again, like I wasn't a big fan.
As much,
wasn't a big fan. So, you know, you might have to play with this a little bit, but we'll get you close. That's for sure. So the next thing, some salt. It's up to you how much salt. Interestingly, with the salt, I figured out we got the salt grinder. Did you know it did this?
No.
That if you left the top on, you can grind it into the top.
No.
And then you pull it off, and it's measured for you.
But I mean, it's almost empty, so I'm glad we figured it out.
Yeah. So there's that. So some salt to taste, how you like it, and then some pepper. We tend to overdo the pepper in this house.
Because we love pepper.
Well, she loves pepper, and I learned to love pepper.
Yeah.
What do you think? We good, or do you want to keep going?
I think a little more.
A little, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to give you a good forearm workout.
Switch hands.
It's probably good.
Happy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so important with working with ground turkey is you can't make the burgers and set them aside I guess you could, but it didn't work as well when I tried because they're really sticky and they'll stick to the plate and they'll come apart. So one of the best ways I found to do this was actually to do it right at the griddle, right before you put them on. I guess you could do this on the grill. You probably really want to baste and oil the grill like outside before you did it. So the griddle actually works really well over here. So now we'll go and throw them on. So the first thing we need to do when we're over here in our griddle is put a little oil on it to keep everything from sticking. One thing you do have to be careful with when you work with this is that it's likely to stick because of the applesauce. The applesauce is going to have some sugar in it. Whether you get the unsweetened or not, the apples will still naturally have sugar, and that's easy to burn on the griddle. So like I said, make these right when you put them on there. So now it's time to get our hands dirty. And yes, they're clean. So we'll mix this all up. It's kind of science fair project looking right now, but I assure you it comes out looking really good. Now that all the ingredients are combined and evenly combined, now we can make our patties. So I like to get into that like 3-ounce area. Right there is probably like a good size. And what happens is when they go on there, they start to sort of melt when they hit it. So you can see it's kind of like really slimy at this point, which is not really a great word to use to describe food, but that's sort of the texture that they have right now. And you kind of make them into little balls, and then you can drop them down and then sort of flatten them out on the griddle. Remember, just like regular burgers when you're cooking them, it's good to keep the middle of the burger a little bit thinner if you can. Kind of like make a little meatball. They're not going to look perfect. And just spread them out. Don't try to do too many at a time. Try to get greedy, then they'll start to stick to each other. Now, depending on the heat of your griddle, it looks like we're at about somewhere just below medium heat. You're looking at, I don't know, 4 to 6 minutes aside. Remember, it's turkey, so you want to cook it all the way through. And that'll do for right now. So we'll let those get working, and we'll flip them in just a couple minutes. So I like to have a bun when I have a burger, whether it's a turkey burger or a regular burger. And a lot of people are trying to avoid gluten. So one of the options that we've used recently, especially following Erica's Faster Way to Fat Loss thing, is to use gluten-free pancake mix in a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and just make enough to have buns for the burgers, and they're excellent, and they really go well with these. So these have been going now for that 4 to 6 minute range. I think they're getting close to being able to flip, and right before we turned the camera on, I realized that I may have broken Erica's new spatula, so when we shut the camera off, I might have to answer to that. So you go ahead and flip them over, and yeah, looks like they're doing pretty well. You can kind of tell when it's time to flip them because they start to cook up the edges. So you can see the edges are starting to cook. Maybe you can't see that from that angle, but the edges are starting to cook up the sides. And then when you flip it over, you leave it there, and then it'll finish cooking the rest of it. You can overcook these. See, that one's got a little bit of that brown that I said. Wait, shut that off so you can hear me well enough. That's got a little bit of that burn that happens from the apple being there. You haven't cooked it too long. It's just what happens from a lot of the sugar from the apples. So we'll let those finish cooking on this side. Prior to doing the burgers, we did make a whole bunch of bacon. This is what's left. We'll have to use for these. To make a lot of bacon, instead of using the griddle, we just put it on one of the stoneware pans and cooked it at 400 degrees for somewhere in that 15 to 20 minutes. Honestly, that's more of a feel. Everybody likes their bacon done differently, so you kind of just have to keep going back and checking.
So now we have one delicious plate of burgers. These are seriously so good. You guys have got to try them. And like I said, you can make them with ground pork, ground chicken, ground turkey, whatever you like. The turkey we used was the 94% lean, 6% fat. I just feel like that has a really great flavor. And we were just talking that and thought that another good way to cook these would be to put them on a rack of some sort, and then on a cookie sheet, and then bake them in the oven and it would probably help with the sticking issues from the applesauce with your griddle, or just have like, you know, a newer, nice non-stick griddle. Ours is a little old, and
Yeah, we're due.
we're due for a new one. So.
And just because we use turkey instead of beef does not mean we sacrificed on the bacon.
No, this
Bacon is the real deal.
This is real deal
Don't
bacon.
fool yourself.
Unfortunately, this is all that's left of the pound that we cooked.
I think Lola was picking at it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yes, I'm not surprised. We had the other 2/3 of it
Yeah.
with dinner.
You might need 2 pounds of bacon.
Yeah, so these are great. Like I said, I mean, if you are not doing gluten-free, then go ahead and by all means have this on a bun. I don't eat mine on any bun. I just plate it up with the bacon on top next to whatever else I'm having, and my husband loves to make the buns out of the gluten-free pancake mix. So definitely give this a try and let us know what you think. And if you make any alterations that, you know, make it turn out even better, then please leave it in the comments and let us know what you do. And I think that that's it.
Yeah, and just like the granola bars, we've already started our fast for the day.
Yeah, so we can't try
I
it
guess
again.
we put these in the fridge and look forward to them tomorrow.
They'll be there for tomorrow. That's right.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.
Are you serious?